What is going on YouTube? In today's video, we're doing spark plugs. These. I think I broke it. For these spark plugs, you are going to need a 5/8 socket. It can either be a spark plug socket that has the rubber inside of it, or just a regular 5/8. You're gonna need a 3/8 ratchet, a 10mm of your choice, whichever flavor, and your preferred caffeinated beverage of choice. I choose coffee. After you're under the hood, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is remove your engine covers. Pretty easy, just pull up. They've got two rubber grommets that sit on these posts. You can just put those aside. When I am doing a service, I like to do all of one side of the vehicle, basically just keeping it uniform. I'll do one side and then I'll switch over to the other. I don't know if I'm gonna need this pick. So you just push down on the inside of this to unlock it. I push it towards the coil so it unlocks. And then do it like that. I don't think I'm gonna have clearance to use my electric drill. So we'll go in and crack all of the 10mm loose. And then once the 10mm are loose, I'll go back and actually loosen all of them. These 10mm aren't gonna come out. They are secured into the coil pack themselves. I'm really hoping that I don't come across a cracked coil pack, because that would mean I would need to replace it. I really want to avoid that, considering doing 16 spark plugs at $16 a pop is already expensive enough. So what you're gonna look for is any cracks on the body, which I'm not seeing, or any like white traces. Basically, if it looks like electricity has been running through the rubber portion of the coil pack, and it doesn't on this one, so I'm gonna just go ahead and set it on top of the engine. We'll go through and remove the other 3 coil packs on this side. Side note, this is the same pair of gloves. I've been using the same pair of gloves for the last 2 weeks because I ran out and I can't find them anywhere. Healthcare workers need them anyways. I always like to put the coil packs back in the same cylinder they came off of. It's not necessarily something that you have to do, it's just something that I like to do. So the camera wasn't recording for this first cylinder that I pulled, but you can see, let's do this, the porcelain right there, where the porcelain meets the metal, that is combustion pushing itself through, and it's just normal wear and tear on the spark plugs. But once again, you're checking for cracks or tracing. The tracing will look like a lightning bolt a little bit hit the spark plug itself. But yeah, this is just dielectric grease. This ensures a solid connection between the coil pack and the spark plug itself. So let's go ahead and remove the other 6 spark plugs from this side. What I learned on the first cylinder is you do not need a 6-inch extension. A 3-inch will work, especially for this front cylinder. You're not gonna have the clearance. Even with a flexible portion, it's gonna hit your fuse block. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the other 6 spark plugs. Now, I just got back from Jeep picking up parts, so my engine is warm. Typically, it doesn't really matter if it's hot or cold, but you wanna be careful. If you feel it binding a little bit, that's the carbon buildup on the threads that is giving you a little bit of an issue. So what you might want to do if it feels like it's coming out tight, is just work it back and forth. So loosen like a quarter turn, tighten a quarter turn, loosen a quarter turn, and just keep repeating that process until the spark plug feels like it's coming out. And eventually, you'll feel it loosen up. Once again, once it's loose, you can spin them by hand the rest of the way. So this isn't tracing, but this little line is kind of what it'll look like, but it'll be vertical. Once you get your old spark plugs out, we're gonna take the new spark plugs out of the box. This is the part where you have to be very careful. It's not something that should worry you, but you should be conscious that if you drop one of these, you will crack the porcelain and then you have to replace the brand new spark plug. The other thing you want to check right out of the gate is your spark plug gap. Typically spark plugs will be gapped from the factory, but you do want to just look and make sure. You never know who dropped this box, so on and so forth, or you know how they handled it. You want to make sure that gap isn't too small or too big. I would say this looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox the rest of the new spark plugs to get them ready to install. Once you've verified that your spark plugs are not damaged out of the box, just go ahead and carefully turn them in by hand until they snug. So now that all 8 spark plugs are installed on the passenger side, we'll go ahead and snug them down with our ratchet. In this case, I would say snug plus about 1/8 of a turn is sufficient for the spark plug torque. Okay, so it turned out to be about 15 foot-pounds on the spark plugs, which is the snug plus about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn. Okay, so now that we have our spark plugs installed and torqued, we can go ahead and reinstall our coil packs. Remembering to install them on the same cylinders that they came out of. When you are reconnecting the electrical connector for the coil pack, just verify that you feel a click and pull on it a little bit to make sure that the connector is locked and secured onto the coil pack itself. That way you don't have to worry about a electrical connection issue, which would also cause a misfire and probably check engine light. And that's it for the passenger side spark plugs. I'm gonna leave the cover off because I do wanna clean it. So now all we have to do is repeat that same process on the driver's side. Just make sure that these are all connected. Perfect. The only reason I removed the air filter housing was so that you guys can get a clear shot of the driver's side coil packs and spark plugs. I do apologize, the passenger side, the camera was on autofocus and it wanted to focus on my shoulder a lot. Alright, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the spark plug replacement on the 392 Hemi, in this particular case in the Jeep SRT. If you did enjoy it, be sure to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, stay tuned for next week's episode. It's either going to be what should be the very first modification on the 392, or it's going to be the drive belt replacement. When I went to go pick up the spark plugs for this, the drive belt was squealing, so I went ahead and I picked up a drive belt as well. The spark plugs cost me about $16 a plug times 16. I think that was like 290 some odd dollars. The dealership basically wants $500 to do that particular service. As you can see, it's not very intimidating. It's something you could do on the weekends with your son or daughter or whoever, but I highly encourage performing a service like this on your vehicle because it kind of creates a bond between you and whatever. And it's easy and it saves you $200. Like I said, if you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Until next week, I'm out. Later.